Thank you for tuning in to Belmont Journal. I'm your host, Joanna Juvelis. Today's guests are Chris Ryan, our town's Director of Planning and Building, and Thayer Donham, our Planning Board Chair. Welcome, Thayer and Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you
having us.
for having us.
You're welcome. So today, I thought it would be great to have you in to talk about this Belmont Center Overlay zoning that a lot of people in town are talking about, but many people in town may not even be familiar with. And it's important to be familiar because October 20th, there's a special town meeting where the town meeting will vote on whether or not to approve this Belmont Center Overlay zoning. But first off, what is it? Which one of you wants to answer that? Try to make it as simple as because I know it's not.
I'll do my best. Belmont Center Zoning Overlay project is just what its name states. It's zoning. It's merely a set of rules and regulations that are intended to encourage certain types of development and uses in the center, in the project area. So this would be overlay zoning. It wouldn't replace the existing zoning, which has been in place for many, many years. That would still be there, but this would be a second set of options that would be available to the property owners in case they wanted to take advantage of it. It would allow certain development to be a little bit taller, a little bit more dense, allow for some additional commercial space, some residential space, and some hospitality space as well. So we think it's a great opportunity for economic development for the town. And we think it really provides a great deal of opportunities that could be out there.
Okay, Thayer, and what do you have to add to that?
I would say it also provides an opportunity to enhance our town center, where we have some buildings that are currently unoccupied. Perhaps those sites could be reimagined and provide new commercial options for town.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk about the footprint? Where is this zoning? What areas would be part of this overlay?
Okay. So we do have a map online, but essentially it is the Leonard Street corridor all the way up to the Verizon building and down to the bridge. It extends down Concord Avenue a little bit toward Pleasant Street. And then on the opposite side of Concord Avenue, it goes down a little bit toward the school. And it includes a little bit of the neighborhood to the rear of Leonard Street around Channing. So it's sort of a convoluted map. It includes some parcels here and there, but that's basically centered around Leonard Street.
Okay. And what exactly would the zoning allow for? What types of buildings, like height-wise, and the amount of commercial real estate, the amount of residential real estate it would add, and in particular, what is this hospitality component that it would allow? And again, allow. It doesn't mean right now that this is a project that's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
It's zoning for projects that could happen in the future. We want to be clear about that, right?
Very much so.
Okay.
It's just the rules, right. So we have 5 different sub-districts, which are sort of ways of providing specific rules in the area. And the first sub-district is called Edge, and that's located up at the top of Leonard Street. And that will allow up to 2.5-story buildings. Not very dense. It's the least dense of our districts because it edges on residential. Our second district is on the west side of Leonard Street. It's called FB2, and it's essentially a zoning that allows from 2.5 to 3.5 stories. 2.5 is the base. There are some density bonuses that we could get you up to 3.5 stories. The other side of Leonard Street is called the core, and so that is essentially an area that allows from 4 to 5 stories, and then, 3 to 4 stories, and then the core behind that is 4 to 5, and then Concord Avenue would be 5 to 6 stories. So it steps up as you get closer to the center.
So part of this map that we're talking about, this footprint, there's existing buildings there. But then part of it is the parking lot, am I right? The parking lot behind the
The
shops in
Claflin lot?
Belmont Center, yes.
Yeah, that's not part of this project.
Oh, it's not?
Right,
Okay.
we've removed that. That could be a potential phase 2 at some point in the future. There was a lot of pushback on including that, and we agree that it requires some additional study before we reconsider that.
I see, so this is for phase 1,
Yes,
which does not include the parking lot.
correct.
But it does include, what were you going to say, Dave?
Well, what I was going to say is Claflin Street, what used to be Claflin Street running through there, sort of bifurcates 2 parking lots. Just bear with me a second. The one sort of behind CVS in that area, that property is owned by Locatelli Trust. So that is private property back there. And then the rest of the parking lot is a municipal lot.
Which is where like the farmer's market is.
Right. And then they captured Claflin Street to make more parking options there.
But so the Claflin Street parking lot where the farmer's market is, that's not part
Right,
of it. That's
right.
the
We
phase
left
2.
that out.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so what would you say are the major changes that could happen if this zoning passes? If the town meeting members give it a 2/3 yes vote in favor, what are the major changes that could happen if a developer came along and said, yeah, I want to put up, we didn't talk about the hospitality component yet, but there's a zoning for that, a hotel. That's
Yes.
what you mean by hospital.
Yes.
Where would that go?
That would go at the far end of the district along Concord Avenue. We're close to where the gas station is right now. There's 3 parcels that make up our 5th sub-district.
And what's there now besides the,
There's an office building. I believe there's also a cultural center.
No, there are 2 office buildings and a gas station.
right.
And then there's the cultural center and then the post
Okay.
office.
So
but
the
those are
hotel
a
can
different.
only happen if the property owners sold that property to a developer.
Right.
And then there could potentially be a hotel. What would the hotel could be up to like how many stories?
5 stories base. So unless they went for a density bonus, and the density bonuses that we have can only be granted for 1 floor, and they have to be traded for a public benefit incentive. So that would be the developer needs to provide something to the town for public purpose, and then they can be granted possibly, if the planning board so chooses, that extra floor. So yes, a hotel could go up to 6 floors if they got that bonus.
But I want to be clear about one piece of the zoning is that it's form-based zoning, which is different from what we currently have. So it more rigorously dictates the shape and size of the building, where windows are, how it's articulated with doors and windows and allowing people to see inside to make it a much more pleasant environment for everyone.
Well, I know, so if a developer came along and said, yeah, I want to put up a hotel, then they would have to go through the whole permitting process, right?
Right.
And if residents in the surrounding neighborhood were so against it, they would obviously speak at the public concerns at all these meetings, but you're a planning board, so you know what, I mean, you have to give it the final approval, right?
Yeah, we
if it's a
vote
project
on
like
it.
that. So how do you weigh in residents' concerns versus, this is allowed, right? So how do you weigh that in?
Well, I think this zoning is a little more prescriptive, has more rules, and so it's less subjective. So I think we're hoping that will take some of the angst about a new project out of the conversation, because it'll be more clear what it has to look like and it'll fit better into Belmont. I think we listen to every comment that comes in, whether it's and every written comment, we read them, we think about them, we see if there's a way to compromise, if they're really, people make good points all the time. And many people, we've had neighbors of the Belmont Center Overlay come with great suggestions, not just coming in and saying, we hate this, but suggestions on how to make it better, improve it, so it's better for all of Belmont. And I think we've worked hard on the zoning to get there, but when we review a project, we really try to take into considerations everyone's concerns and also things they like. You know, it's not all bad.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, let's talk about the pros and the cons. So before we came on the air, Chris, you were saying that there are a lot of people who are actually excited about this. So what are they, and I said to you, what are they excited about? So why don't you tell our viewers at home, what do you think people are excited about this new Belmont Center Overlay?
I think there are people who really like the fact that this is an opportunity to do economic development in the town that's based on a plan that was already developed a number of years ago that just hadn't yet been taken advantage of. We hadn't had a chance to act on it. So there was already a center plan that had recommended that we go ahead and do a form-based code for the center. So this is following through with that. But I've heard from people that are in favor of this project because they think it does advance economic development goals in the town, which are front and center in terms of the needs that the town needs to develop additional revenues. But also, some people are interested in having some things happen in the center for teenagers, for visitors who want an experience downtown. They want more shopping opportunities and options. And I think that there's a synergy that can be created by the new residents that could potentially be in the area, who are new shoppers that could patronize the stores, but also maybe allowing for different activities. Like I said, some would like to see some space for teens that they could hang out in a safe way.
And not at CVS?
Yeah, not at CVS, exactly. I know that others are interested, those who are, from the schools, they would like to see, obviously, revenues that could keep our school system an elite school system that provides a great education for the residents of the town. And I think others would love to see some infill, some spaces that are now maybe not developed. Maybe there's the area that has the bank with a drive-through window. Maybe that could be developed as some new space. And I think maybe provide some greater design aesthetic in the center as well.
Right. I know the building you're talking about. It's been vacant for a while. Am I right? It's no longer, not even a bank, is it?
Right.
So that was my other question. There are a lot of vacancies, it seems. Tenants come, but then they can't pay the rent and they leave. So, and then these buildings just stay for lease for the longest time. So this is going to add more commercial space, but how do we know it'll get rented?
Well, I think we also hope to add residential units, so people are living there. So they're going downstairs to buy a cup of coffee. They're taking advantage of commercial in a way that supports the businesses
That are there already, and
Right.
also the new businesses, which some of the new businesses could create that interconnectivity between the old businesses. You might have a new copy store that the existing businesses use. You might have a new business that patronizes some of the restaurants. So there's that sort of multiplier effect of economic activity where you have dollars that are brought in by the new residents, and those dollars circulate around the economy.
Let's talk about how much more commercial and how much more residential this could add overall if a developer does decide to build everything that this allows. So how Can one of you tell me about that?
Chris, you have those figures.
Yes, so first of all, it's good to know that the first 2 floors of every building must be commercial. So that's kind of a new twist. Typically, zoning doesn't do that. But we are saying because we want the commercial space, we want to be able to take advantage of commercial development. Those first 2 floors must be commercial. And in fact, that there's an actual density bonus that if a business creates a 3rd floor of commercial, that they could get that density bonus. I just wanted to throw that in there
Yeah.
because that's how important commercial is as a part of this. And I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but essentially we're talking about somewhere between 200,000 and 400,000 square feet of potential commercial, including the Concord Avenue corridor with the hospitality area, the hotel. And then somewhere between 180 and 220,000 square feet of residential, which would translate into somewhere around 250 housing units or more. The exact figures I will have out relatively soon. But that's an estimate. And then in terms of hotel rooms, we're looking at somewhere between 250 and 350 hotel rooms.
Oh, wow, that seems kind of big. I don't know, like, what kind of a hotel would you say it would be? A boutique kind of hotel? Or?
Precisely, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that, with an average suite size of between 350 and 400 square feet.
Why does Belmont need a hotel?
Well, first of all, it's one of the most revenue positive uses that's out there by a large measure. It's incredibly lucrative for the town's tax base. But also it provides an opportunity for people who have graduations or weddings or any other type of event to actually have their guests stay in town. It also captures maybe people are visiting McLean or some other facility in the town, and they would have some place to stay close by as well. So I think it offers a lot across the spectrum.
But that's not the only use allowed on those sites.
Okay.
I mean, someone else could come along and build a commercial office building that's taller than what exists now. So it's providing a set of opportunities depending on where the market is and where what seems to work for the developers and the property owners.
So how would this additional commercial space benefit our taxes? And I don't know if the residential would, because if they're rentals, would that, I mean, I
Well,
guess
the
property owner pays the taxes on the rentals regardless, but.
Well, the likelihood of the type of residential that's going to be potentially built in the center is not necessarily going to be family housing because we're talking about residences above commercial. And typically a town center residential component is studios, 1 bedrooms. They tend to be very revenue positive. So I think anybody that's saying that the residential will be across the board negative, it's not the case. Now, the types of units, I think, also will contribute again to the sort of synergy with the economic component as well. But I think from the standpoint of your question, I think that's what we're looking at. We're looking at it as being a very positive element to this overall framework.
Does anyone have a figure on how much potential income the town could earn?
We're doing a fiscal impact analysis right now. We have a model that that the town has agreed will be used to filter the build-out analysis. So the build-out analysis is the estimate of the amount of square footage that could be built based on the zoning. And so we have those figures, and we can put those figures through the fiscal impact model and make some determinations. We're probably going to have upwards of 10 to 12 different potential scenarios with different assumptions. But so far, in a couple of test runs that we've done, pretty much it's revenue positive all the way through. So, from maybe not a full build-out, maybe building half of the development, all the way up to a full build-out with all the density bonuses, there's a range of around $500,000 to multiple millions of dollars positive.
And what I want to add is on September 9th, the planning board agenda that night includes a presentation on the fiscal analysis, as well as a presentation on, there's a parking study, which I think Chris can talk more about, but the preliminary findings of that are going to be presented as that is a key issue that comes up at every public meeting is parking, parking, parking. Where am I going to park my car?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the key planning issues around. So we are working on it.
We've hired a consultant, and that the preliminary data should be released just before that meeting on the 9th. And hopefully we'll have an opportunity not only to talk about the fiscal impact data and the parking data, we hope to be able to talk that night about the traffic analysis as well.
Okay. And what about the impact on schools? Potential impact on the schools?
Well, there would be an estimate of the number of students that will be generated. And so that's part of the fiscal impact analysis. So we'll have that data available as well.
Okay, good, good. So why now? Why is this happening now at this particular time?
You want me to take that?
Sure.
So I think overall, I think one of the things we tried to emphasize earlier is that the town really needs to pursue economic development. And there are only so many opportunities, both from the standpoint of sites and types of uses, that I think would be appropriate for the town. So we're looking at a lot of different areas in the community that are already commercially zoned as potential candidates for upzoning or changing the zoning to try to encourage more business development. But the center was a good candidate because we already had that plan in place. We already had that vision plan for Belmont Center. And that was sort of a framework, a foundational tool that we used to basically justify a lot of the things that we're doing right now. So in many cases, it's a good idea to have that plan already developed, which has a lot of input up to that point from citizens, and then build on that with the rules and regulations that actually carry it out.
And I think by economic development, that's kind of a planning buzzword for commercial revenue. So I think really the driver of this plan, there is twofold. One is to get more commercial revenue into the town coffers, and the second is to look at opportunities in the center that will make it better for Belmont and make it more pleasant for everyone who lives there by increasing activity, providing options.
And I think that the word I like to look to is the vision, that vision plan created. We'd like to implement that vision. And so, it has an economic component, it has a vitality component, and it has an aesthetic component. We would like to, add some aesthetics to the center as well to make it look as great as it can.
Okay, you going to do anything about that bridge?
We definitely are looking at, the traffic analysis I alluded to earlier is going to look at the traffic patterns around the center. And that analysis is going to look at a variety of options like signalization. Would it benefit the traffic flow in the center if we signalized before and after the bridge? And we also, if we were looking at phase 2, which we're not, is the possibility of making one-way pairs of Claflin and Leonard Street to enhance the circulation for that. That's actually going to be one of the scenarios in our traffic analysis. If we did make one-way pairs, would that improve traffic even more? So that's a possibility.
Is there any reason why the additional housing that's part of this overlay doesn't count for the MBTA zoning? It's on top of what the MBTA zoning allows for.
Well, it's not on top of it, it's another option.
It's another option.
So
It's like, I've heard it's in addition to.
No. So right now we have the base zoning, which is the commercial zoning that's already in place. And then last year we passed MBTA communities, which there were several little parcels in the center that were included in 3A, in MBTA zoning, and that was an overlay zoning as well. So there's a set of options that people could take advantage of if they wanted to do that. This would be a separate overlay with essentially for those properties it would be another competing template that they could utilize to build on those properties. So they could certainly choose to use one or the other, but they couldn't use both.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything to add there? No. So how can residents get more information? Anybody tuning in that might want to learn more? What's the best thing for them to do besides watch this?
The planning board website has a tab on the left for the Belmont Center project, and there are links in there. You can sign up for news blasts. We have the planning board agendas come out, and we have this as a topic every week, or every time we meet, which is usually every other week. And then on the 11th of September is a public meeting at the Beach Street Center, right?
7:30.
Okay, so the public needs to know about it, but ultimately the town meeting will vote on it. But if you live in a particular precinct and you want, you can talk to your town meeting members in that precinct.
And we do send out regular blasts to town meeting members. The frequently asked questions document that we've prepared, not only is it on our website, but we did send it to all town meeting members. We also would like to send it out in other distribution lists if they're available. We want to make sure that any single question that anybody has, we can capture in here to hopefully give a complete picture of what the zoning will be.
You have a lot to do between now and October 20th, right?
We do, yes.
And then once it passes, can you take a breather? Or if it doesn't pass, like what happens? Let's say what happens if it passes and what happens if it doesn't pass?
Well, if it doesn't pass, typically a zoning that doesn't pass, you have to wait 2 years before you can reintroduce it, unless the planning board sponsors it. So it's possible that it may be brought back. But if it doesn't pass, certainly we'll have to do some, critiquing of it as to why it didn't pass and what we could do to make it better. And we probably wouldn't bring anything forward until those things were corrected. If it doesn't pass and it's overwhelming and it looks like people just didn't want this to happen, we may have to rethink that. But I think that either way, we'll learn something from that. And if it does pass, of course, it has to go to the Attorney General to be approved. But after town meeting vote, technically people can take advantage of the zoning. We don't anticipate that will happen right away. It's not really a great development environment right now anyway. But these things do happen and evolve very slowly. And so there are some properties that are probably more suitable for a quick development than others. There's a lot of small parcels in the town center, and those are challenging. And so we think it's going to take a while before anything happens with some of those.
Well, we are out of time, unfortunately. I want to thank you both for coming on the show. I hope that people at home have watched. Be sure to visit the website. I do think that Q&A document is very helpful, and I'll make sure I put the link for everybody to know where to go on the town website to learn more about the Belmont Center overlay zoning. Until next time.